Hello, yo sweaters. Today I wanted to talk about some new issues regarding the minion management ever since the last update. So there's three things that changed since the last update. First of all is that I no longer use conviction judgment, and I think it is better to use the quick recharge setup, and I will show you why after. Second, we can no longer cancel our awakening. They fixed it. Yeah, whatever. Sucks. And third is that well, it's not much of an issue, but since the Hype 3 rotation is so tight now, like we really don't have like time for anything else. So that's something that will affect like how we play. So okay, first let me show you conviction judgment. So I will show you by doing this test over here. Okay, so I have conviction judgment here, 15% skill cooldown reduction, right? So I cast awakening. Let's see how much time it takes for it to turn down to 2 minutes. Okay, it took like 5 seconds for this to go back down to 2 minutes. So we can assume it's like 125 seconds of cooldown when using conviction judgment with 15% CDR. So now, if we're in Hype 2, see, skill cooldown reduction minus 10%, right? 10% is less than 15%, right? So we cast, awakening, and it only takes 2 to 3 seconds to turn back like to 2 minutes. So why does that happen? It's actually quite simple. It's just because conviction judgment is actually multiplicative, which is bad. So basically, conviction judgment 15% multiplicative cooldown reduction is actually worse than just 10% additive from our identity. Yeah, so that's the reason why using conviction judgment is no longer good, especially since we cast so much more spells in Hype 3 now. It's much better to have like many quick recharges, since I don't know about on one spell, but I know that if you have multiple quick recharge on multiple runes, they can proc without cooldown between each other. So for example, if I have quick recharge here, and I have quick recharge here, I could get a reset on this one and immediately a reset on this one. It didn't work this time, but yeah. Okay, so let me show you what I think now is the best the minion management. So here I made a sheet that I will obviously share the link to, and so it looks kind of complicated, but it's very easy. Let me explain. So here we have a minute. I'm using a block here for 10 seconds. So with 6 blocks, we have a minute, right? So one of these blocks would be 2.5 seconds. So here I have your awakening cooldown if cast during Hype 2 or if cast with conviction judgment with no hype. Here we have a Hype 3 awakening, when you swap in base, your engraving, and here is Hype 2 plus conviction judgment, although I don't use conviction judgment anymore. I will just use this to demonstrate something. Here we have the minion uptime, which is 2 minutes. Here we have meditation, which is hype up downtime. Here we have Hype 2, Hype 3, Hype 1, although no one uses this. And Hype 2, I made like a small block because like Hype 2 is so variable, like it's kind of a filler, so it's good to have like just blocks of it to use anyways. So here I have a raid scenario, right? When talking about raid scenario, I will be mostly thinking about a con since it's the most recent raid. So here we have where we are in base and we do our awakening swap, and we go into the circle or whatever, and then the raid starts. Akan jumps around like 1 or 2 times, and then it's DPS time, so we go into hype 3. And then after the hype 3, Akan phases, we go into meditation. This part is actually where we're doing like the mech. And once he comes back up, we go into hype 3 again. And here, notice how at the very end of hype 3, I cast Awakening here. So we have, so our Awakening is up over here, and Dominion has full uptime. And so here is the theory part, like the on paper, not always reproducible in rate, but optimally what you want to do is after hype 3, you go into meditation, which is supposed to be a mech, and then you drag on hype 2 for however much you need, just not too long to exceed Dominion uptime. And you just make sure that at the end of hype 3, you cast Awakening. And here you can repeat this pattern here again and again ad infinitum. And this, I believe, is the optimal Dominion management. So, okay. And here is some issues that might arise. Sorry, I literally have COVID. So here we have hype 3, right? Hype 3, and here we don't have time to cast another hype 2. The group has too much DPS, we're too juiced, we're fucking whales, whatever. And here we have to DPS, right? The Bard buff is down, Inanna is down, and here we go straight into hype 3. So by doing this, by not burning some hype 2, we actually cannot reset our Awakening with like the very end of hype 3. So here we have meditation downtime, and notice how the moment our meditation is over, Dominion is also over. Therefore, we will need to cast Awakening with hype 2. And obviously, because like you don't want to just cast a Awakening at the start of hype 3, because you will be losing like 2 to 3 seconds of uptime, which is terrible. Like 2 seconds is like 10% of your hype 3 uptime. And right now, with how tight like the rotation is in hype 3, like you really don't, you can't afford 2 seconds of downtime. Well, you can, but goodbye MVP. Not really, but you know. So here, you will have to reset Awakening with hype 2, blah blah. So that leads us into these scenarios. So first scenario, here you casted Dominion with hype 2, so you have this thing over here. And then you go into hype 3, you DPS, meditation happens, and here I put hype 2, but it can be anything. It can be like the boss doing like a mech where you have to like run around or whatever. You can DPS. And then here you can't drag hype 2 any longer because he will phase soon, and the support is dropping the buffs and whatever, so you go in over here. Actually no, remove the phasing thing, because it won't work with what I'm about to say after. So basically the support drops his buff, everyone goes in, you DPS here, and then it's over. And then you have meditation here, and Dominion ends around 10 seconds into meditation. You still have 40 seconds of meditation. And even though your Awakening is up again, since we don't have Conviction Judgment anymore, we can't be casting our Awakening off during no hype. So that's really bad. We basically have like over 30 seconds of like absolute ZDPS. I know that even though if like we're in meditation, so like our DPS is already low, but like without our relic, we actually lose half or more of our DPS, which is like terrible. And even though we're in meditation, we still do the DPS of like almost like a transformation class, I think. So yeah, it's not complete DPS, right? But yeah, you can argue that, yeah, well, if you're in meditation while the boss is hittable, you kind of already fucked up. But you know, it it does happen, and you can't always have the perfect hype management. And this here makes it really punishing not to have conviction judgment. So this is the issue of not running conviction judgment. And here we have shit scenario number 2, okay? So shit scenario number 2. We're either in hype 2 or in no hype for a while. Actually, no, we're in hype 2, and we reset it our awakening here. And then we have to hold hype 2 because like the boss is doing some unhittable pattern, whatever, like something is happening. And then here we go into hype 3 because hype 2 is about to end, or the support like is buffing and everything, and we have to DPS. So here we go into meditation, and here we have a moment of hype 2 for whatever, and then again we really need to DPS here, like the boss is staggered or whatever, the support is dropping everything. And then here we have an issue. In the middle of our hype 3, our Dominion cuts off. Here, even if so actually we can have a clean like Dominion and hype 2 awakening cooldown sync if you have 1820 Swift. So even if this thing was at the same time, it still cuts off at the end, in the middle of our hype 3. So in the middle of our hype 3, we have to awakening, and that's really, really bad. And before the patch, we could just, awaken cancel, and it would like waste like 0.5 second, but it wouldn't be too bad, right? But here, it's actually really bad. So this is one of the most like terrible scenarios that actually sometimes happens. I've seen it happen a few times, that's why I'm talking about it. And here I show if we had conviction judgment plus hype 2, right? But that's not guaranteed, obviously, because we can fail conviction judgment. So here we have whatever, and then we can reset awakening over here so that the minion uptime keeps on over here, so we still have it during hype 3 and we won't need to awaken. So again, this situation could have been fixed in the past by just awakening canceling or having conviction judgment, but since we don't have those anymore, these become issues. So yeah, these are the scenarios that are kind of fucking me over sometimes now when playing EO. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but obviously I will be linking this sheet, so you can like play around with it if you want. And yep, that is it for me. Peace.